Ly Tu Diem. Hello everyone. I sincerely wish you all good health and peace in life. Behind those gentle words lies a storm of love, sacrifice, and secrets yet to be revealed. CEO Toan's life was once filled with success and luxury until the day Tu Diem disappeared, leaving behind only silence and memories. His mother's anger grows not just from pride, but from fear that a hidden truth could destroy everything they've built. Now, with hearts broken and destinies uncertain, only one question remains. Will love be strong enough to bring Tu Diem back, or will fate decide their ending? In a story where tears are shed more than words spoken, and where love fights silently against time, can two wounded souls find their way back to each other before it's too late?
The rain poured endlessly that night, as if the sky itself mourned the distance between two hearts once tightly bound by fate. Toan stood silently by the window of his new house, watching raindrops race each other down the glass. Everything around him was still the elegant furniture, the ticking clock, even the warmth of the tea on the table. But inside, his heart was a storm. Diem was gone again. He had searched everywhere, from the quiet markets where she once sold forest fruits, to the dark corners of the house they once shared during the days of survival. Toan chased every trace of her shadow. She had left no goodbye, only silence. His mother, once skeptical and cold, now harbored a storm of her own. Ever since she discovered the truth about Diem's tragic past, the abuse, the betrayal, the unbearable pressure to repay her husband's family debt, she was consumed with guilt. But she had a harder time showing remorse. Instead, she turned that guilt into frustration, into anger at herself, and sometimes unfairly at Toan. "Why did you let her leave again?" she snapped one morning, after everything she went through. After all that she gave up to save you. Toan didn't answer. He couldn't, because deep inside, he was asking himself the same question. Why hadn't he stopped her? Why hadn't he told her about the letter? Yes, the letter. The secret that could change everything. It was written in shaky handwriting, left behind by an old man in the mountains who once helped Diem. Before passing away, he had told his daughter the truth that Diem had once risked her life to save not only Toan, but others too. She had been protecting someone when she disappeared, someone precious. That someone was a child. A child Diem had helped escape from the hands of traffickers back when she herself was nearly sold. Toan had just found the letter days ago, hidden inside a book of field notes from a local rescue volunteer. It told of Diem's bravery, of the girl she helped rescue, who now lives safely with relatives. And in the letter, the girl had written, "If you find the Diem, please tell her. I still remember her kindness. I still remember her eyes full of pain and courage." Toan clutched the letter to his chest. If Diem knew, if she read these words, would she come back? He looked out into the rain again, whispering her name like a prayer. "Diem, come home." Toan stood motionless in front of the window, staring into the city lights that flickered like the broken pieces of his heart. The house was quiet, yet heavy with the echoes of the past, of laughter, of tears, and of promises now lost. His mother had not spoken to him since the night. She had thrown the porcelain cup against the floor when he dared to defend Tu Diem again. "You don't understand," she shouted, her voice trembling not only with rage but with fear. "That girl, she will ruin everything we've built." But Toan didn't flinch. His voice was steady. "What exactly are you so afraid of, Mother? That I love someone who saved my life? Or that the truth about her past might destroy your perfect image?" Her silence was the loudest. "Answer." It was that silence that haunted him. He knew there was something she was hiding, something about Tu Diem's past that she had gone to great lengths to erase. A secret that, once revealed, could change everything. Toan made up his mind. He reached out to his most trusted investigator. Find out what really happened in Tu Diem's hometown. I want everything before she married, before she disappeared, before I met her. Days passed. Each one stretched like a lifetime. Toan buried himself in work, but his heart beat only for the moment he would see Tu Diem again. He replayed every memory, every smile, every tear that fell when she left without saying goodbye. And then the call came. There was a child, the investigator said. A daughter. She was taken away. Toan's world stopped. She lost her child. Yes, thought her former husband's family took the girl after accusing Tu Diem of being unstable. They told the village she was cursed. They forced her out and threatened to kill the child if she returned. Toan's chest tightened with pain. Tu Diem had carried this grief alone. All that time, all that suffering, and no one had ever seen the weight she bore. No wonder she kept running. But he would find her again. Not to rescue her, but to stand beside her. He drove for hours, back to the village where she once lived. The roads were broken, the air thick with memories. And then, through the mist of dawn, he saw her Tu Diem, kneeling quietly in front of a small grave. She turned as he approached, tears already falling before he even spoke. I know, he said gently. I know everything. Tu Diem trembled, her voice barely a whisper. Then you understand why I can't come back. Toan shook his head, eyes burning with devotion. No, now I understand why I must never let you go again. He knelt beside her, reached for her trembling hands. We can fight them. We can find justice for your daughter, for you, for us. Tu Diem looked into his eyes she once thought she'd never see again. And in that moment, something cracked in her, something that had been frozen in fear for far too long. Maybe love was stronger than fate after all. Tu Diem sat silently on the wooden bench by the garden, the evening wind brushing past her tired face. Her hands, still trembling slightly, held the letter she had written to Toan but never sent. She read it again for the 100th time. The words on the page trembled with vulnerability. I never wanted to leave, but I was afraid your world was never meant for someone like me. At that same moment, Toan stood in front of his mother in the grand living room, filled with heavy silence. His voice was low but firm. Why did you lie to her? Why did you tell her I would never choose her? Madame Lan, his mother, looked away. I did it to protect you. She's not from our world, Toan. You could lose everything, your company, your status. I already lost everything that mattered the moment she walked away. His words hung in the air. For the first time, Madame Lan saw the brokenness in her son's eyes, a depth of love she had underestimated. She hesitated, then finally whispered, There's something you need to know. Tu Diem came to me the night before she disappeared. She begged me to let you go, saying she didn't want to ruin your future. I didn't stop her. Toan felt as if the ground beneath him cracked open. The truth hit him harder than any betrayal. Meanwhile, Tu Diem packed the little belongings she had gathered. The letter still lay on the bench. She had made up her mind to leave the city for good this time. But fate, once again, had its own plans. As she stepped out of the gate, a small dog ran toward her, barking happily. It was the same stray they had promised to adopt, the promise Toan had whispered to her outside the hospital. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The past refused to let go. Behind her, a familiar voice broke through the quiet street. I never stopped looking for you. She turned slowly. It was Toan, standing there, breathless, eyes shining with a mixture of pain and hope. He walked up to her, gently kneeling to meet her eyes. You left, but my heart stayed with you. Now I know why, and I know you were trying to protect me. But this time, let me protect you instead. Tu Diem couldn't speak. Her lips trembled, and her eyes overflowed. Please, he whispered, come home with me. Not for the house, not for the name, but for us. She closed her eyes, letting the tears fall freely. And for the first time in a long time, she nodded. The night was quiet, but Toan's heart was storming. He stood by the window, watching the wind sway the trees outside, haunted by Diem's last words. Even if you love me, I don't belong in your world. That sentence played on repeat in his mind like a cruel lullaby. It was never about status to him. It was about the way her eyes lit up when she smiled, the courage she carried through her pain, and the softness in her voice even after a lifetime of cruelty. Meanwhile, Diem hid in a small village, working at a herbal medicine shop run by an old woman who had once been abandoned like her. The woman reminded Diem that healing others often begins with healing yourself. Each day, Diem found strength, again planting, mixing herbs, watching children laugh. But at night, when the world grew quiet, Toan's voice echoed in her thoughts. Back in the city, Toan's mother sat in the living room, holding a photo of Toan as a boy. The house was emptier than usual. She had driven Diem away with words sharpened by fear of losing her only son, fear of scandal, and fear that love could undo what money had built. But now, guilt gnawed at her. She had uncovered the truth behind Diem's past. The debt her family claimed Diem owed was a lie. They had sold her once and were willing to sell her again. The girl hadn't run away, she had survived. One rainy morning, Toan's mother called him. Son, she said, her voice softer than he had heard in years. I was wrong. About her, about everything. Toan didn't reply right away. His silence spoke pain. There's something else, she continued. I found where she is. Toan stood frozen. She's helping a small clinic in the mountains. She didn't leave because she stopped loving you. She left because she thought she was a burden without waiting another second. Toan packed his bag. He drove through the night, through rain and fog, past winding roads, to the edge of the village, where Diem was staying. And there, in the morning mist, he saw her. She was carrying a basket of herbs, dressed simply, her hair tied back with a piece of cloth. The moment their eyes met, time slowed. Her hands trembled, but her heart pounded louder than ever. Toan stepped closer. You left, but you never left my heart. Diem whispered, voice breaking. Hada was saving you from me. He reached for her hand. You were the only thing worth saving. Tears rolled down her cheeks. For the first time in a long while, she let them fall freely. And in the quiet village, far from the noise of wealth, revenge, and judgment, love found its way back home.